Hey everybody, my name is Esther. I am one of the co-curators here at High Points and Making Stand-Up Prints. I am joined by the incredible Vivo M and Mychal, the filmmakers for one of the pieces in this exhibition, Curious Moon Face. Created this year in 2020, if you can believe it, there was and is creativity still happening now. I wanted to bring them in so we could just have a little bit of a chance to be in space with each other, to acknowledge this beautiful collaboration that you both created, the importance of it for so many of us to be able to see and witness Black beauty, and specifically Black female beauty, in a time where we've seen so much destruction on the Black woman body, both through the pandemic and as well as through just this pandemic of racism. So I'm here and I just want to ask both of you if you would just share with everybody here what it is that inspired you to create this film.
Well, well, I guess I can start with the poem. I was writing a love poem to the moon, and the more I got into this poem, the more I would go back and I would read, and I was like, I know this is a person. I know this person. I'm describing someone I know. And I kept writing and I kept reading, and I was like, this is like, I saw my grandma and then I saw my mom. I'm like, this is pretty much every Black woman I know. Yep, my best friend, Naila, Ellen, okay. You know, I just went down the list and I was like, this is about all these women, you know? And there's a fondness that I have for the moon in the nighttime and the stars and the galactic space, and so that softness was on my heart when I was writing it. So it was a love story to the moon that ended up ultimately being a love poem to Black women.
What about you, Mike?
I feel like I just really picked up on these vibes. You know, when I initially read the poem, I kind of felt the same way. I was like, you know, remembering, you know, important women in my life, my elders, my auntie who I love, my mom, you know what I mean? I was seeing just the layers and the depth of Black women in there. And I was just like, how do I, you know, articulate this on the screen in a way that's not like the typical over-sexualized or like, you know, pain, you know what I mean? I wanted to do it in a way that was just like made Black women, you know, feel good when they watched it, and like, you know, it be a thing of like, you know, the mystical aspect, and just, you know, I just wanted to create a piece that would just elevate Black women, especially with all the stuff going on right now, you know, Breonna Taylor and just the murders and everything that's been happening. So yeah, that's kind of how it came together for me. I was just inspired by V's work, and, you know, we started collaborating on it, and it was a match made in heaven to me.
Yes. Now, like working in a community space, which is what I do, and generally always in collaborative community spaces, I was really struck, one, to see this honoring of Black women from a Black man, because so often we hear that other narrative, right? That's not there. And one thing I want to point out is, we asked a lot of our artists if they would submit questions that they wanted, like, the world to know. Like, what are the things that they're asking about the work that they created, or just in general? And Mychal, we were really struck by the question that you submitted that we have here. That's, how do I articulate my reverence for Black women and the urgency of protecting them without triggering or traumatizing them? Now, this question is not only just so poignant for the work that you did, but also in context with what's happening on the walls here. And I want to ask you both if you would be willing to share with our audience a piece that is speaking to you. It does not have to be in relevance or in relationship to this question, but what struck you about a piece in this exhibition?
I can start with this piece. It's titled Access, and so it's very visceral to me with the amount of negative space that is available or not available. The different orientations of the space that's available or not available. That's just very visceral for me, and in a visual representation of our society, right? You know, from any vantage point, you know, this would look like, for some people it's like, oh my gosh, I have all the space, I don't have any, you know, but within that same frame of space, there could be so many things that are restricting that space. So perception is also everything.
This is a really great and poignant piece because access itself is a word that's bantered around quite often. Oh, we don't have access, but we don't really interrogate what that word means and what that means to different groups of people. So you're right about everything that you're saying here. Thank you so much. Mychal, what about you?
Man, there's a few. I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, definitely this one right here, the Major Taylor joint, just because I guess just thinking about him and his legacy, and just the fact of like finding something you love and focusing on that and just like going in on that and not allowing yourself to not be, or to be cut out of spaces, you know what I mean? Or to be told that you can't participate in something, or to like, you know, be told that this is not for you, you know what I mean? He had a passion for something, which was cycling, and you know, he took it to the fullest. And in spite of the resilience, so I love that, how it's like all guts, you know what I mean? Like, because it really was.
Well, and what are you hitting on here? You're actually tying into what V just said about access, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How much access is now given to other people because of this person's legacy,
Right.
right? So legacy is also important, and I think the artists in this exhibition are also portraying past, present, and potential future legacies on the possibilities of revolutionary movement building through the creative lens of art, and the importance of how art can really change the way that we perceive and engage with each other and with the world. So I have a really, really hard time picking something that's like poignant because every single one of them is poignant, and I'm sure that the co-curator Ellen would say that. I'm sure the staff here at High Point would say that as well, that it is very hard to pick a piece. And I just really want to truly just say to all the artists that are a part of this, thank you so much, including the artists that are maybe not represented here that submitted pieces. Your work has value, and we are super engaged with what it is that you're trying to do and say to the world. Now, I will say one thing, that we're inundated by news, right, in very different, in many different ways. And one of the pieces that really stuck with me was, first when you walk through this gallery, you see this term perceived security, and then you come through, and here's a visual representation of perceived security. But I don't want to like talk in this one because Ellen goes in a little deeper in one of our videos about this piece. What I want to talk about is William's piece here. William Lanslow, I asked when he sent this in, I said, are these just copies of things, or did you actually read all of these? And he's like, I read all of these, and then some. And you can't even see how heavily layered this is. And this is just a small snippet of what's out there and what it is that we are perceiving and who are we changing for. So I just invite all of you, if you have not had the chance to be in here because the exhibition closes tomorrow, please take a look through the online tour of this incredible exhibition on stand-up prints, and think through some of these questions. Is cultural appropriation inherently harmful, and how can it be beautiful? Ask yourself, what happened in my neighborhood? Or maybe ask what's happening in your neighborhood now in regards to racism and housing. Ask yourself, what kind of world did your grandmother grow up and live in? And what kind of world are you creating for yourself, your sisters, and the women who come after you? Ask yourself, why do we punish survivors? This piece is calling on Black women's fight to exist since their foremothers' wombs. And so I ask you to, since the piece that you have in this exhibit is a film that centers on Black women that are here, that were here, that will be here in the future. And my question to you both is, how do you live gracefully in a body that is routinely framed as unworthy through a white supremacist lens? And I'm up for the deep breath.
Yeah. I mean, I think this print really speaks to that a lot in terms of the value of like our ancestors and the work that they put in. You know, just I guess focusing on that and you know, the power that we have in our legacy. You know, I would say definitely makes me feel better about like the situation of being Black in America, just knowing how much strength we have and how much depth there is, in the story. And just doing research on that and finding out more about our history, and also like being conscious about the future and like where we exist in the future and how we, do that outside of, outside of like what other communities think of us, just within our own community, like, reimagining, what the future looks like for us.
You said reimagining, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's great about that is in reimagining, there is the possibility of imagining. Mm-hmm. Because how many times have Black people in America and in the world not been even offered the option of imagining? So I appreciate that context. Thank you, Mychal.
Yeah, I would say, it's the same. It's the more information, the more history, the more stories I learn about, the more confident I become. I feel more gracious, I feel more relieved, because a lot of things have already been done. It's a layer, it's a lot of different combinations of emotions that I end up feeling the more I learn. And like, when I first learned about Josephine Baker and Sarah Vaughan, Dinah Washington, and these legends, African American legends, I was angry. Like, why didn't nobody tell me? Like, how did I not learn about Nina Simone in school? Like, how did that happen? This person impacted everything and contributed to the actual fibers that are the weave of the culture of this entire nation. How did somebody not tell me about this person? Mm-hmm. So it was anger at first, and then, but eventually, that anger kind of, it waves in and out over time, and more people that I learn about. But then there's also, eventually, I relax and I feel relieved. And I feel my hands releasing on a certain type of fight. I don't feel like there's anything else for me to say about certain aspects of things in this country, because I don't think I could say it any better than Nina Simone. I don't think I could say it any better than James Baldwin. I don't think I could say it any better than Martin Luther King already said it. Right. And so like me releasing that gives me a spaciousness to imagine and to build and to create something else. Mm-hmm. So my graciousness in walking in this body, that's also a privileged body at the same time, light skin privilege, thin privilege, right? Like there's still a lot of privilege I walk in, so I weaponize that. I use that to continue my mission. I use whatever is valuable in this particular society. I'm going to use that to continue this work. Learning to stand on the shoulders of the ancestors before me, is like the more information that I can gain about the work they already did, and not keep repeating the same. Because that's what I feel is that's what's traumatizing and annoying and frustrating. Like I'm not gonna find another way to tell you how traumatized I am. I'm not spending no time doing that. Because how many more ways can we possibly say that? So I'm focused on the softness, the grace, the openness, the smiles, because there's enough of that other stuff out there, and it's not it's somebody else's journey as they're growing to make that work as they learn other things, right? So I don't think there'll ever be a ceasing of that re-explanation, right? Because the younger generations are always going to come along and need to explain and explore for themselves, and so like there's always that. But I would say that finding grace for me, in order to exist within this range of experience and emotion, we have to dream way more. Yeah. Because the evidence and the visceral physical experience of our past is so tangible and palpable, right? So in order for us to have a more balance between these experiences, we gotta dream 1,000 bajillion times more, and that'll kind of even it out. Mm-hmm. So that's how I reconcile where I am now. that I have the weight of the past, but I'm focused on dreaming way more. So like one of the phrases that has been with me this year is that I feel caught between Nina Simone and Octavia Butler. Right? It's like Nina is that like militant intensity, and Octavia is this audacious dreaming into the future. So I feel like my balance is me kind of being between the two.
I think that's the spectrum we call magic. Thank y'all, appreciate it. Mychal, your voice, the presence that you are bringing to this community, the opportunities that you are giving to people by seeing power and beauty in Black women are beyond words that I don't know if I even have the words to be able to explain my initial reaction. I just want to say thank you, both for being here, for the work that you're doing. And if it wasn't a pandemic, we'd be hugging it out, y'all, okay? But truly, you're a gift for our community and beyond. And again, Minneapolis, it's a galvanized community through the murder of George Floyd, but that does not mean that Minneapolis is over and done with its fight for what is necessary for equity, inclusion, access, and security for everyone. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.